Delighted to be joined by our next guest. He is the executive director of Back 40 Action. Will Westmoreland is here. Good morning, Will. We're going to play a clip for you before we even get going. Will, this is a clip from the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins.
Oh, no.
No.
We can play that one. Yeah.
The Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, talking about the fact that the U.S. is bailing out Argentina with $20 billion. And then Argentina essentially undercut the U.S. and is now selling soybeans to China. But Brooke Rollins says this is a great thing. Calvin, let's play that clip, please.
Can you tell us a little bit more about President Trump's plan to use tariff money to pay farmers? What does that look like? How much are we talking about? How long will that program last?
You know, it is a very elegant solution, right? The amount of tariff money that is coming into our country is stunning. The president had a vision. He's effectuating the vision. The vision is pretty remarkable. The whole entire world economy is now realigning around American products, which is incredible. But again, to this moment of uncertainty, the ability to offset any payments to the farmers through potential tariff revenue is really where the president wants us to head, and that's what we're looking at very soon. One more.
So, Will, everything is good. Everything is good for our farmers. We can't sell our soybeans. There's no market for that. But Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, says it's all elegant. It's all great. So what are you hearing from fellow farmers in your part of the country?
Well, Jane, I've never done this before, but I've got to correct you on one thing. We are the world's leader in one Department of Agriculture now that Donald Trump is president and Brooke Rollins is Secretary of Agriculture, and that's word salad. We've taken the lead. We've taken the lead worldwide in word salad. So
we're number one. We're number one.
Give or take. What's our share in the marketplace there? Is that like a 99?
For word
I'd
salad?
give it a 99.9.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We got it cornered.
USA.
We do. I'm always amazed when I hear, Brooke Rollins speak or the president speak about agriculture because and I'm going to get to your question, but the truth of the matter is I just want everybody to know this. And this is a conversation I have regularly with the farmers and ranchers where I live. There is no tariff fund. There's no money from the tariffs sitting in a big fund somewhere waiting to be spent on American farmers and ranchers. And I don't know how many different ways the media, different business experts across the country, experts like me in rural advocacy, I don't know how many different ways we can say it. That's called taxpayer money because it's the businesses that import the products that pay the tariff fees. Yes. And then they pass that along to us as customers and we pay that. So it's taxpayer money that's going to be paying for any kind of bailout that's done. And you can try to wrap it in a pretty bow. You can try to paint it a different way, but it's taxpayer money that will pay for those bailouts if they occur, just like they always have in the past. Now, to get to the answer that you were looking for, we had a great, and it may be the clip you were gonna play, but we had a great town hall meeting with Mark Alford, who is my congressperson in the 4th Congressional District here in the state of Missouri. And there was a 2,400-acre soybean farmer, corn farmer that stood up in that meeting. I'm going to clean it up a little bit for NPR, but he looked at Mark Alford and he said, you need to quit kissing Donald Trump's rear end. He's not doing anything for the farmer. He's not working on behalf of the American farmer. Now, this guy just lives his farm is just a couple of miles away from my farm. And I know who he is. I've never met him in person, but I was having Saturday breakfast down at the local watering hole not far from my farm. And everybody was sitting around the table just aghast because I live in an 80% Donald Trump support county. And basically they were saying that they knew that he had voted for Donald Trump at least twice. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about what's happening with farmers and ranchers. I read a poll just the other day that Donald Trump has lost about 6 to 9% of his support in rural America since he came into office during this term. A lot of that is in unaffiliated voters, but still a couple of percent of that is in Republican, rank and file. So things are not good. Everybody's scared to death. All you have to do is go to a town hall meeting anywhere in farm country. You can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in what they're saying. They're very worried that we're going to see a record-breaking level of bankruptcies And we talked the last time I was on. Anytime that happens, you see a spike in bad health, in suicides, in lost farms and ranches, and it's just a big snowball that gets bigger and bigger as it goes down the hill.
I mean, when we talk about farming, whether it's with you or with Darren Von Ruden or Pam Yankee, there's a certain reverence I come to it because I am not a farmer. I know nothing about farming, and I never want to assume anything about the mentality of a farmer, especially when it comes to who they vote for. But there always is the question is, if the man who ran for president 3 times, won twice, is not done enough for the farmers, what is the appeal? I mean, we saw a bailout in 2018 of $19 billion after everything was said and done, and now we're heading right back down that road. And I want to know, what is it about, whether it's Trump, MAGA, or the Republican GOP, that just keeps them in to say, well, we can trust them? I don't understand it, and I don't want to assume, because I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence either.
Well, let me take off my farmer cap and put on my political consultant hat for a minute. So I will tell you this, that, and the bailout, by the way, was $27 billion during the last year of the Trump administration, and it continued on for 2 years into the Biden administration because the farm economy was so bad as a result of these tariffs in the first round. If you look at the polling, and I know there was a book that came out a few years ago that was called, Rural Rage, and it painted a really bleak picture from a racism perspective, et cetera, of rural America. And there's no doubt that some of that exists out here, just like it exists everywhere else. But I will tell you that when you look at the polling for rural America is very similar to the polling for urban inner city America. And it's more the politics of resentment. You don't fix our roads. You don't fix our bridges. We don't have good internet. You don't take care of our schools. And what we learned in the last election is that people like to vote for the person screaming the loudest that they're going to fix all of that, whether they fix it or not, or they sit on their hands and they don't vote, which was a huge problem in the last election. And, I will tell you, I always say this, don't put my face on Mount Rushmore, because on election night, even though I say we need to meet people where they are, on election night, I looked at my sons and I said, well, I guess we're all going to have to eat out of trash cans in rural America before we figure out what's going on here. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of people in rural America, when they vote, they really did believe he was just going to get rid of the criminals that were coming here illegally. They really did believe that if we were to let him put these tariffs in place, that it would bring manufacturing back to rural America, which has been decimated. And what's happened is the same thing that happened before. Yes. Manufacturing jobs are accelerating in their disappearance rate. Our foreign markets, 33% of our foreign agricultural markets have disappeared. So all I can tell you is Will Rogers once said, when they asked him, how do people in rural America learn? He said, some learn by reading, some learn by observation, and the rest just have to pee on the electric fence for themselves. And and there's a lot of that third one. Yeah, there's a lot of that third one going on right now. Yeah. What I will say is different this time, Greg, is we're seeing the swing in support moving away from the president. And you're seeing this angst out here that even if we do farm subsidies, we're just going to be right back in the same boat next year and the year after and the year after. So, they had to hit their thumb with the hammer 3 times, but it does seem like that third time is making a difference.
If you're just joining us on Matt and Air on Air, Will Westmoreland is our guest. He's the executive director of Back 40 Action. He has been on the show before. He's a farmer in southwestern Missouri. And we're talking about the Trump tariffs and what it's like in his part of the world and what he's hearing from fellow farmers. There is a lot of angst, Will, again, about people on the left trying to understand rural voters and why it seems they continually vote against their own interests, because Democrats are the ones who want to invest in infrastructure. President Biden had that big infrastructure plan that went to both red and blue districts. And yet, again, they came back to Trump knowing what he did to them the first time around, and they came back for more.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the things about rural America, well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, whenever you see the numbers that rural America voted 70% for Donald Trump, the numbers are actually a little bit better than that, because what they're doing is they're taking a look at the top 200 counties, agricultural counties in the country, and they're pulling that number from the voting results just in those top 200 counties. The truth of the matter is, I can go right outside of where you are in Wisconsin and there are rural voters. I can go right outside of New York City and there are rural voters. It's probably somewhere around 61% of rural America that actually voted for Donald Trump, which is still way too many people, right? The good news is there have been a lot of folks out here like me that have been fighting against this for years. And I will tell you, people are starting to listen. We've got a lot of people that are, have contacted us here at the Back 40 that have said, listen, I didn't get my reimbursements for rotational grazing. I lost my farm because of it. I'm ready to work with anybody that will help us get good agricultural policy in place, that kind of thing. The other thing that's really scaring people are these changes in the ACA credits out there, because our good friends at the National Rural Health Association, who we work with very closely on healthcare issues, basically we're going to see a 37% increase in the number of people in rural America that don't have health insurance at the end of the year because of these cuts.
And that's something that we have to keep reiterating. The whether people are utilizing Medicaid or Medicaid, I'm going to say for sure, but also these ACA increases, they want to paint these individuals on the ACA and on Medicaid as shiftless layabouts in cities doing nothing, absolutely taking advantage of the system. But that's not true at all. These are working folks who live all over the country, red state, blue state, rural, urban, suburban. They're everywhere. And when you try to paint it with that kind of brush, once again, folks in the rural areas, as we're seeing with all of these cuts, they're always having some of the most devastating effects on people in the rural area. And we need to keep talking about that, because the politicians like to get on their podiums in front of a cornfield and tell them how much you, Will Westmoreland, are the backbone of America, but they cut programs that make it harder for you to even live.
Because
what they did, Greg, is
a lot of the farmers get their health coverage through the ACA.
This one does. I was notified a few weeks ago that my insurance is going to go from $1,700 a month to over $3,000. So, and we're looking at seeing that across the board. The bottom line is this: we use it more than anybody else in the country. It's going to impact us worse than any other part of the country. There are two bills out there right now: Senate Bill 46 and HR 247. Both of those are designed to put those credits back. So we need to get our politicians to do that.
We're going to continue our conversation with Will Westmoreland, Executive Director of Back 40 Action. Stay with us. You are listening to Matt and Air on Air, coming to you on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.